Oops, that didn't sound good. All right, everyone. Well, good morning. Wait a minute. Good morning. Oh, okay. Everyone's awake. People weren't sleeping all the way through lunch yesterday up until today. We hope you got your coffee. We hope you all are ready for today. We're going to get into some super awesome sessions this afternoon on business support and guidance, as well as business contracting for you small businesses out there that are looking to kind of expand your security and land a contract with a business, with private industry, with state, local contracting. Really great opportunities out today. So welcome back, everyone, to the New Mexico 2023 Black Business Summit. My name is Shawnee Harvey, and I represent the New Mexico Economic Development Department's Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Office. It's great to see so much representation here today from across the community. We've got some high schoolers that joined us today from the Leadership High School down the way, which is really awesome. Thank you all for coming out. And today should be a great program. We've got some special guest speakers coming in towards the afternoon before lunch, some special dignitaries. We've got great representation from the national level of the Small Business Administration joining us today as well to welcome us into our program. We're going to get another panel in, and we were waiting for folks to kind of fill in, so that's why we're kind of pushing a little bit, but we'll be fine. We're going to hear from more local businesses in the community to talk about their experience doing business here in New Mexico, and we're really only going to cover the tip of the iceberg, and the hope is that you'll have enough info on the surface to get you ready to dive deeper and connect deeper with the organizations that are here today. This space and this time is really about you and the business owners and future entrepreneurs who are looking to discover the different resources that are offered throughout New Mexico, and we've done our best to bring them all together here for you today so you can ask your questions and connect and learn about what's available to you. Before we get to our keynote speech from the Regional Administrator Ted James from the SBA and our opening with Ms. Janae Jameson from the Office of Advocacy with the SBA, we're going to start with our opening ceremony. So if you didn't know all the words to lift every voice and sing yesterday, today is your opportunity to use and show us your memorization skills and how much you learned overnight. So once again, I want to welcome to the stage Minister of Music for the New Mexico jurisdiction of the Church of God in Christ, Choir Director for the New Mexico Mass Choir, and singer in the group New Beginnings, Miss Diana Bethany, to lead us in the anthem. Diana?
Can we please rise for our national anthem? Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not our will weary feet come to the place for which our Father sighed. We have over a way that with tears have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered, out of the gloomy past till now we stand at last, where while the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light. Keep us forever in the path, we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, O God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land.
Lovely fade out, James. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Diana, for leading us in our anthem. It's truly a wonderful way for us to remember our history and experience as a collective in the United States, and a great reminder for our shared ancestral history and experience, and the beauty of being able to be here today and to be together. Next, I'd like to welcome Bishop David C. Cooper to the stage to lead us in today's blessing. We recognize that maybe not everyone has the same spiritual and religious backgrounds, but we knew it was important to open with the ceremony and acknowledge as many members and facets of our community as possible. Bishop David C. Cooper is the senior pastor of New Hope Full Gospel Baptist Church in Albuquerque, New Mexico. An experienced pastor and leader, he possesses more than 40 years in ministry. Bishop Cooper serves as the Southwest Regional Bishop in the Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship, with more than 60 churches under his auspices, spanning the states of New Mexico, West Texas, Colorado, and Oklahoma. He also serves as a member of the Bishop's Council, the governing arm of this international convention. As Southwest Regional Leader for ANSIBA, a New Day Coalition for Equity for Black America, Bishop works with Black clergy nationwide to improve the lives of Black citizens through research, education, public policy, and eradication of social inequities and systemic racism. He serves as the president of the Ministerial Alliance of Albuquerque and Vicinity, and is also a member of the African American Chamber of Commerce. Bishop is a proponent of enhancing the quality of life for community and currently leads the World Vision Gift in Kind New Mexico project that provides needed household gifts and furniture. Bishop Cooper was awarded an honorary doctorate degree in humanities from Louisiana Baptist University for his tremendous coordination efforts to assist victims of Hurricane Katrina. His other academic pursuits include studies at DePaul University, Monmouth College, and Trinity Theological Seminary. Of his many accomplishments, Bishop Cooper considers his chief accomplishment to be the leader of his home. He is husband to his beloved wife, co-pastor Nina Cooper, and father of 2 sons, David Cornelius Cooper Jr. and Andrew Frederick Cooper. He also has a precious granddaughter, Zia, and please give him a warm welcome to Bishop Cooper.
Good morning. Thank you for that intro. It's longer than some of my sermons. And we're grateful to be here. A couple things I want to do before I pray. My prayer is short. I am an avid reader, and I want to encourage you in Black History Month as we come together on the Black Business Summit to increase your understanding of Black businesses throughout the history of this country. There's a book entitled The History of Black America, of Black Businesses in America, Capitalism, Race, and Entrepreneurship by Juliet Walker. I would encourage you to read. And then also Entrepreneurship and Self-Help Among Black Americans, a reconsideration of race and economics by John Butler. And then finally, a most recent writing, The Color of Money, Black Banks and the Racial Wealth Gap. Let's pray. Our Father, our God, we thank you that in your creative genius, you created us and formed us into your image and likeness. And because of your desire to make man like yourself, as you spoke things into existence, you have allowed us to use our own creative genius, our intellect, our ability to design and to fashion, to make things out of the things that you've made, to build, to invent, to discover. We thank you for that creative gene. We thank you, God, that even in the midst of that, all throughout your word, there is the gaining of wealth and prosperity. There's Abraham, who creates great wealth. There's Solomon, who creates great wealth. There's a woman in the New Testament named Lydia, who was a solopreneur and created great wealth. We pray now for wisdom, even as we interact with one another, that we would be able in this state to come against those who believe that we are inadequate or we ought to be marginalized even in the business space. And we pray, God, favor on every business, and that you would give us both the resources and the capacity to do the kind of business that not only causes us to flourish financially, but calls our community to bridge the wealth gap. And so we thank you for these men and women, and we thank you for those who will speak and share. And regardless of their faith, we pray, God, that your sovereign mercy and grace and favor would be on us all. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you so much, Bishop Cooper, for being here with us today and taking the time to lead us in prayer. And thank you, James, for your accompaniment there in the background. Super appreciated. Next, I want to welcome to the stage to kind of get an idea of who's here again. We're going to do a roll call, and I'm going to invite Mr. Timothy Green IV to the stage to bring us in together and introduce us to each other.
Cool. Good morning. Oh, y'all still asleep? Good morning. Good morning. Okay, that's a little better. That's a little better. I want to welcome you to the second day of the first annual New Mexico Black Business Summit. It's been rich and a wonderful experience so far. But I just want to kind of continue with the analysis that we started yesterday. And so if you don't know who I am, my name is Tim Green IV, and I'm Culture Change Leader for the City of Albuquerque. I appreciate that. Yeah, wonderful. Meaning what I do, what is Culture Change Leader? What I do is I provide anti-racist, equitable education, professional development, policy analysis, systems change, and everything else that you can think of around dealing with municipal government and breaking down those racist structural barriers. So that's a little bit about myself. You know, I'm a proud father. I'm a girl dad, so I got to represent. I have a wonderful, beautiful partner, right? That's right, yeah. But anyway, enough about me. As we continue to build on that analysis, we have to know that it's Black History Month, right? Happy Black History Month. Right. And this year's theme is Black resistance, as we were saying yesterday. Yeah? Y'all remember that? Okay. But I wanted to focus on Black resistance in terms of entrepreneurship and business, especially for us Black folks, right? And James Baldwin had a quote, and I think this is what we're doing. It's so powerful. The place in which I'll fit will never exist until I make it. The place in which I fit will never exist until I make it. And this is powerful, right? Because as we continue to build and to be in community, we have to remember our greatest form of resistance has and always will be each other. It always has been our community. And so as we move forward and we think about our Black Business Summit today and what we want to do, we have to remember that community equals humanity, right? I'm going to say it again. Community equals humanity. Community equals humanity. And we have a wonderful opportunity here because as the African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Thank you. Right? And this is what we're getting at today. Right? As we continue to build and organize towards our collective liberation, we must stay rooted in this cultural principle that has brought us this far. Right? Something that separates us from white wealth, right, is the fact that we have to build wealth looking back. White folks, right, given the structural barriers, have only had to build wealth moving forward, right? Meaning that they've had 400 years of building structural, systemic laws that have put them in positions of wealth, land ownership, right? But we know, coming from our communities, not when you get a good job, you got to go and help auntie, cousin, grandma, right? And I'm not saying that's problematic. I'm saying that we must not lose that, right? Because that has been our strength as a community. And so I want to continue with this because I think the beautiful thing that I noticed within this resistance is our Black joy, right? It was on display yesterday when we were socializing during lunch hour, and that was intentional, right? We got to break these institutional one-hour lunches, right? We can't get personal with each other, right? All this stuff, right? And our Black joy is through our dress and our celebration. Sister Naima today, stand up, show everybody the Black joy, right? That's what I'm talking about. That's part of a Black joy. That's part of our resistance. So today when we're in fellowship with each other, right, remember that it's about Black joy. Take up space. Laugh, right? Joke with each other. This is what it's about. This is what we're doing because we're building that community. Gloria Lanson Billings, she talks about 4 different pandemics, and hopefully we keep this in our mind as we have an opportunity to reshape the allocation of resources for our community and really change the status quo. Right? She talks about COVID-19, talks about racism, right? She talks about economic collapse for our community, and last but not least, environmental degradation. And I hope we can keep these in the forefront as we move forward and we organize and we build this wealth and we close those racial wealth gaps, because it's not about building the wealth alone. It's about building it in community and how we're going to use that to leverage and bring our people up, right, in all facets. So I wanted to just leave you with that, and I wanted to say, yeah, let's do a roll call. So anyway, it's about Black joy and Black resistance today, and part of that resistance is our organizations and representing and seeing one another, right, through our organizations and through our diaspora. So what I want to do is I want you all to make a little noise, take up a little space. I'm going to do a roll call. If you identify, if you feel it, then we'll make some noise, okay? Y'all asleep, okay? All right, sounds good. All right, cool. So again, we have to recognize the African diaspora. So all my first and second generation brothers and sisters from Africa, make some noise. That's what I'm talking about. That's right, that's right. We see you. All our first and second generation brothers and sisters from the Caribbean, where you at? Hey, that's right, that's right. And I should have said Jambo, bonjour, right? It's before 12, I think that's right. All our brothers and sisters who identify as Afro-Latino. Anybody in the house? That's right, make some noise back there. You ain't alone. That's right. All the brothers and sisters from the West Indies. No? We still love y'all. Oh, okay, there you go, there you go. And then last but certainly not least, all the brothers and sisters who identify as Black American, first generation. Right? And the beautiful thing is that our community is not monolithic, right? And this is, we must recognize and see each other, because even though we've been spread across the world like sand spread across the wind, right, we're still united, right, in what we do. And so, thank you, thank you. Next, we have to recognize the Black clergy in the house, right? Thank you so much. And Black clergy, yeah, make some noise, woo, 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 right? And the additional spiritual leaders throughout our community. So if you're here, make some noise as well. All right, all right, all right. Yeah. And then I want to apologize. Yesterday, I didn't honor some very important pillars of leadership in our community. I want to recognize if there's any Masons in the house. Okay, I want to recognize, I see you. And then also the Black veterans, right? I want to honor and recognize the Black vets. And again, I apologize, right? That was a little bit of my bias right there coming out of not recognizing that yesterday. So I just want to honor that. So now, this is an event that I think was co-sponsored with the D9. If you don't know what the D9, it's the Divine Nine, and it's the historical Black fraternities and sororities within our community. So I just want to do a little roll call, okay? All the alphas in the house, Alpha Phi Alpha, make a little noise. Hey, Phi! So I'm Alpha. Let's see, Omega Psi Phi, you in the house? Oh, I see you, I see you. Kappa Alpha Psi, you here? Hey, I see you. Okay, all right. Cool. Brothers of Phi Beta Sigma. Where y'all at? And that was not intentional. I wasn't no shade, nothing like that. I'm trying to go through the history. And then last but certainly not least, there's not a lot of them out here. The brothers of Iota Psi Lambda. No, I saw one yesterday, so shout out. All right, sisters of AKA, Alpha Kappa Alpha, in the house? All right, we see you representing. Sisters of Delta Sigma Theta? Okay, all right. Let's see, Zeta Phi Beta? Oh, I can't hear you. Zeta Phi Beta? And then last but not least is SG Rho Sigma Gamma Rho. Any SG Rhos in the house? No. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. I'm almost done, I promise. I want to lift up the Black politicians who are putting in work so we can continue to be a strong community, right? We got Brother Harold Pope, right? We got Pamela Herndon. And then we also got judges doing powerful things like Judge Samara Henderson and other judges in powerful positions. I just want to lift them up. And then last but not least, I want to recognize the Black businesses in the room. Can you make some noise? All right, all right. Any future entrepreneurs in the house? Hey, that's right. All right. And then I just want to say a special thank you to all of our allies and accomplices, right? We don't forget you. It's not that we don't see you. It's that you know, this is a space for us's, and we're trying to create that space, but it wouldn't be possible without our collective collaboration on all of these different business and entrepreneurial ventures. So I just want to say thank you for all of our business sponsors, our allies and accomplices, and I hope you have a wonderful second day at the Black Business Summit, and it's all about Black joy and Black resistance, so let's do it.
Thank you, Tim, and Z5, but I'm not going to do it that loud because no. I'm going to welcome Mr. John Garcia with the SBA to the stage with the Small Business Administration of New Mexico. He's going to introduce some incredible folks on his team doing great work, and then he's going to lead us into our panel. Welcome, John.
Good morning. Mr. Green, I just want to tell you that was your enthusiasm. It's contagious. And thank you for your words of wisdom and strength for the community. I'm excited about this particular day and especially this particular month, which is very important for the African American community. But These 2 days have been extraordinary for us because in my 7 years of the SBA and my involvement in other paths along the way, I have not seen a conference coordinated such as this has been done for Black Business Day. And it's something that we're definitely going to be growing on. And you're going to see this room filled twice the size if we keep pushing it with our partnership and our teaming. So how many New Mexicans are in this room as well? I just want to add that, Mr. Green. Would the New Mexicans please stand and let's give them a round of applause for being here. Thank you. But how many of you are not from New Mexico? I just want to warn you, though, you're going to fall in love with this state, and you don't just move to New Mexico. God has to send you, okay? So there's a reason why you're all here. So with that, let me just, yesterday we introduced some of the resource partners that are here. These resource partners, what they have to offer you in terms of technical counseling, access to capital, contracting opportunities, it's free. It's all free. And if you haven't made touch with any of these people, you're missing out on tremendous opportunities. They are the ones that can help guide you in terms of growing your business. But I also want to recognize Mr. Russell Wyrick, who joined us today. Russell, please stand. He's the director for the SBDC, the Small Business Development Centers across the state. He makes sure 18 of these centers are operational. Thank you for joining us, Russell. Also, Ms. Agnes Noonan, who's here with us. She's the overseer, the main lady that oversees West, but she also manages 6 of the SBA's women business centers across the state. So thank you for joining us. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize a lady who served 20 years in the State House here in Santa Fe during the legislative session. After 20 years, she decided to retire, and I'll say retire because unfortunately she didn't get her race back in there again, but I want to recognize Representative Miss Jane Padrell Culberson. Where's she at? Please stand and recognize Jane Padrell, a real leader, advocate here in the state of New Mexico. Thank you for being here with us. Also, where are those students that came in? I want those students to stand. They're the future of this organization and what we're working on. Thank you for being here, all of you. And please, if you're entrepreneurs who want to go into business, you got a lot of people here that want to help you succeed. With that, it's my pleasure to introduce a young lady who is now running the SBA Office of Advocacy for Region 6. Back in 22, around September, the White House announced through the Office of Advocacy in the SBA, they announced Janea Jameson as the Region 6 advocate. She represents Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and New Mexico. Ms. Jameson is the link between the western states' small businesses and the Office of Advocacy. The Office of Advocacy has a regional advocates in each of our 10 federal regions. There are 66 SBA district offices. I'm the district director for the New Mexico district office. The advocacy team identifies new issues and concerns for small business owners, and they work closely with local government officials, state officials, legislatures, and of course the Chief Counsel of Advocacy to develop programs and policies to support small business growth. But I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you a little bit more about Janea. She's got a very interesting background, so let me just tell you a little about who Janea Claire Jameson is. Janea is a Louisiana native and she hosts a weekly podcast called Her Story. It's an LLC. She creates opportunities for critical dialogue and action for Black women who have defied obstacles and turned them into success. She's a longtime advocate for race and gender justice. Her justice lens focuses on centering women and girls in policies and organizing and advocacy to develop a roadmap to equity. Currently, Ms. Jameson leads all programming strategies for this Power Coalition. Her work includes statewide growth of Power Coalition and the implementation of core programming, including She Leads, a leadership program for female leaders of color, Black men and boys, state work, voting rights work, and policy and advocacy work. Ms. Jameson is not just our regional SBA advocate for small business. There's a lot more to her that I think for this particular meeting is critical to what Mr. Green was alluding to. Prior to her position with the Power Coalition, Janea worked with the East Baton Rouge Metro Council as a legislative assistant. She volunteers for local nonprofits such as Imagination Leads, Butterfly Society, St. Vincent de Paul, Big Buddy Program, DreamWorks, Louisiana in her spare time. She's 2021 Southern University Alumni Federation 40 under 40 cohort, a 2020 Institute of Politics, Loyola University of New Orleans cohort, and a 2019 BOLD, which stands for Black Organizing for Leadership and Dignity Fellow. We need to get her here to New Mexico very quick. She's an active member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Was that noise I heard? Okay. She received an undergraduate degree in political science and a master's in public administration from Southern University and A&M College at Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She's also a best-selling lead author and a featured writer in the first edition of the Historic Black College University Experience Anthology at the Southern University System edition. Please give and stand a warm New Mexico welcome to Ms. Janea Jameson.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. And thank you so much, John, for that well thought out bio. So yes, I have had a long career within policy and advocacy throughout the Deep South, building momentum and creating change, right, and centering our voices. So I think that's why it's so important to be in this space within the U.S. Small Business Administration, because creating a space and a voice and fighting is something that I'm not new or shy of, right, especially as it relates to addressing issues and creating opportunities for Black communities, BIPOC communities, and centering our voices. So with that being said, though, today my focus is really going to be on my role within the U.S. Small Business Administration so that you all can know who the Office of Advocacy is. I think what's really unique, even upon my appointment in September, look, there were some folks in the actual agency like, what's this space in the Office of Advocacy? And when I'm on the ground and in the field, it's always like, well, is this a new position? Well, no, it's not actually. So I have a slideshow, but I'm just gonna go off the dome, y'all. And then there's a plethora of information that's at the SBA table that you'll be able to follow up and get more information. So again, just to provide some clarity around the space of the regional advocate, as shared before, I cover a very large region and area. But the Office of Advocacy was actually created by Congress in 1976, and we are known as the independent voices for small businesses within the federal government. So while we are, of course, a part of the U.S. Small Business Administration, we're our own independent entity. And we're also known as the watchdogs for the RFA, right, which is the Regulatory Flexibility Act. And the way this act works when it was enacted, it states that when federal agencies are drafting and crafting these different rules, when there is a significant impact or burden on small businesses, there should at least be a consideration for flexibility while still meeting the goal of that regulation. So again, what does that mean, right? That means ensuring that voices are heard. That means ensuring that as a regional advocate, I'm connecting with small businesses on the ground and making sure that you're aware of the resources of the Office of Advocacy, making sure that you're aware of the impacts of certain proposed rules, and that there is a space for you to actually submit comments. Now, we all know that at times, policy is incremental. Laws and building is incremental. But if we can at least address a piece of it to make it less burdensome, and so that you won't have a negative impact on your revenue, that you're aware of the financial liability, that you can protect yourself from lawsuits, that you can remain in compliance with these rules and also craft and shape a better rule within that overall process. I think one of the other key components to make known is that rules are constantly changing. As administration change, rules will change. One of the key components to stay up to date as it relates to these regulations is making sure that you're aware of regulations.gov. Regulations.gov will provide you with the opportunity to look at all of the upcoming regulations, all of the industries, who it may potentially impact, and then when there's a regulation that's released, there's often a commentary deadline, right? And so with the federal agencies, what they want to know is, what are the impacts for you to comply with this rule? What is the reality of the rule to comply versus the analysis? Federal agencies are doing just that. They're only making an analysis. They want to hear the true stories. They want to hear what are some solutions. They want to hear maybe a certain industry shouldn't have to comply to this statute, but they won't be able to do that unless you're there to utilize your voice and that you know that you actually have a space. The office is divided into 3 departments as well. There is interagency affairs. Interagency affairs is very important because it's the legal team that is monitoring these regulations, but it's also the legal team that I'm working with. For instance, if OSHA releases a rule that's centered on the prevention of violence within a workplace, and if I'm talking to healthcare facilities, I want to make sure that I'm communicating with interagency affairs, because they will then craft a commentary letter on behalf of the Office of Advocacy that's based on our conversations. Another great component in a department that you all should be familiar and aware of is the Economic Research Department. The Economic Research Department is very beneficial because not only does SBA proper utilize this department, but also the Economic Research Department is there to create and provide you with different infographics and case studies, but it helps you further navigate within your industry, right? It helps you look at maybe some gaps and some disparities and creating a pathway for you to better navigate through the system, for you to better understand the impacts of certain situations, even looking at the minute details of how women-owned businesses are impacted, how Black or minority-owned businesses are impacted. So, the more you know, the more knowledge you have, the more you're able to build on your intellectual property and retaining this information, the better space that you'll be having in order to navigate through this, through the federal government and through the federal regulation process. And then lastly, I think that it's also important that you're aware that when you think about the regional advocate, at times it's very difficult for you to share your voice and your opinions. Know that someone is fighting for you on the Hill, right? So I'm the one that is communicating with Congress, with the White House, with the federal agencies, with the state and local policymakers to ensure that it's a public awareness on the contributions to small businesses, on those concerns, drafting and writing different blogs and articles on the impacts, even if solutions aren't created right then and there, at least there's a space for awareness that is known to be done, that there are different areas that we should continue to fight towards. And then lastly, I think that it's also important that you're connected to the regulation alerts. Please visit Advocacy's website. This website is a little easier for you to navigate because unlike regulations.gov, like I mentioned, there's a lot of information about the constant changing rules. On the Advocacy website, you'll be provided with the information for agency roundtables. Agency roundtables are important because, again, you'll get to learn more about these proposed rules, and then you can actually share right then and there in live on the impacts of how this regulation may potentially impact you and your business. And also make sure that you reach out to me, right? You can go to the table in the back. There's my business cards. There's different steps within the actual federal regulation process where you can get full information of how the bills are crafted, when it's sent to the White House, when are these comment deadlines, what are the potential impacts, so that you can stay connected to me and also stay connected by learning more about the newsletters. I ensure that there's newsletters that are sent out monthly, that we're disseminating different information, and again, creating a space where we know that many communities sometimes have been underrepresented, right? There's a historical context of our voices being neutered. So with that being said, we have to create these opportunities and connect the dots, in knowing that in order for us to address the disparities of how some communities are disproportionately impacted, that our voices are elevated and heard. So that's all I have for you all today. Happy Black History Month, everyone. If you do have any additional questions, again, please do reach out to me. And as John did state, yes, I do have a podcast. I'm involved with a lot as it relates to HBCU advocacy and awareness, and ensuring that, again, that we're not working in silos and that we're collectively building. So however you want to connect with me, feel free to do so. Thank you.
Great, and now it gives me a great pleasure to introduce the gentleman that I report to, as well as the other district directors and within Region 6. So it's a great pleasure that I have the opportunity to introduce to you Mr. Ted James, the administrator for Region 6, which is also called the South Central Region. As a Region 6 administrator, Mr. Ted James oversees the SBA programs, offices, and operation in the SBA South Central Region, again, including the states of Arkansas, Louisiana, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Texas. Now, this is not Mr. James's first time out here to New Mexico. He loves coming back and loves working with the African American Chamber and with our office. And hopefully he'll be back again on May the 5th, which is Cinco de Mayo Day, because the SBA New Mexico will be hosting our weekly, or it's National Small Business Week during that particular week. But the SBA administrator, Ms. Isabel Guzman, will be here to help hand out some of these awards. So I want to extend an invite to anyone and everyone in this room for the May 5th National Small Business Week Awards Luncheon that we'll be hosting at the Hispanic Cultural Center. And hopefully Mr. James will be able to make it back again. But Mr. James has a passion for leadership. He's driven by a deeply held desire to impact the lives of others while transforming his community. He's a native of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He was taught at an early age the value of service and strength of his community, the importance of a quality education, and the principles of social justice. I believe he probably learned that from his parents. I'm sure they taught him those critical values. Mr. James has earned a Bachelor's of Science degree in accounting from the Southern University A&M College and obtained his Juris Doctorate with honors from the Southern University Law Center. In November of 2011, Mr. James was elected to serve as state representative for Louisiana 101st House District, and immediately he emerged as a leader in the legislative body. During his 3 terms in the Louisiana House of Representatives, he served as chairman of the Administration of Criminal Justice Committee and the chairman of the Louisiana Legislative Black Caucus. Outside of the Louisiana State Legislature, Mr. James is an attorney, past director of Baton Rouge Office of Urban League of Louisiana. Please give a warm New Mexico welcome to our regional administrator, Mr. Ted James. Thank you.
Good morning. All right. I flew a long way. I'm in a whole nother time zone. And it's Black History Month. Good morning. All right. Thank you, John, for that wonderful introduction. And for always, John, I oversee 10 different offices in Region 6. And, there are sometimes when there are events and we want to do certain things and we have to call and call and call. We don't have to do that here in New Mexico. John and his team are among the best in Region 6. So, John, thank you for your leadership and all of the staffers that we have at the SBA. Many of them have been in and out over the past 2 days. I want to thank Ms. Shani Harvey. The last time I was here, had an opportunity to meet Shani and hear about what her work, and I said we need to come back we need to do something for Black History Month, and with the Divine Nine National Panhellenic Council agreement, and Ms. Carla over at the chamber. And that was probably one conversation, and then like 2 days later, Shawnee had an agenda, she had partners, and so thank you, Shawnee and Carla, and everyone who did something to make this event. And I know it's the first, but I hope that it won't be the last time that we convene in a manner like this, even past my service with the SBA. I think that you all deserve to have this type of, not just this event, and I know that this is the inaugural event, but I hope that this is not one that we are just going to convene every 365 days during Black History Month, but I hope that what we have learned here on yesterday and today will be the jump start of continuing to build and strength in the Black community here. And as Mr. Tim Green said, and Tim, John forgot one thing in my bio. I'm a girl dad as well, so I got a 5-year-old little girl. But Tim talked about our allies and our accomplices. And you all heard a lot yesterday about what the SBA can offer. And Ms. Jameson talked about some things. I will, as President Biden's appointee here in your region at the SBA, of course, there are some things that I am required to say. But with it being Black History Month, and I feel like the spirit was invoked yesterday and the spirit was invoked again this morning, I'm going to kind of come to you all as Ted, right? Not just as Administrator James. But we talk about a lot of the opportunities, right? And if you listen to the State of the Union yesterday, between a lot of the booing and the cheering and the standing up and sitting down, I was kind of joking about the Vice President. I know she was tired because she was just like up, down, and it almost seems that it's scripted, right? Well, you know, the President says something good, one side is supposed to clap and the other side is just supposed to stand down and look all mean and ugly, right? And it's unfortunate that we have gotten to that point in democracy in our society where you can't even clap if the president says something good, right? But there are some opportunities out there. The president talked a lot about the bipartisan infrastructure law. And I had a conversation earlier with all of the many facets of the SBA. I am duty bound to ensure that I don't just talk about the accomplishment of getting the legislation passed, right? I spent 10 years in the legislature. I got a lot of bills passed. In my opinion, that's the easy part, right? The hard part is actually making sure the implementation is equitable and is fair, right? Because it's one thing to talk about the $1 trillion investment in roads, bridges, infrastructure, broadband. It's another thing to talk about Black folks, Black and brown communities, marginalized communities getting a piece of that pie, right? So for me, here as your regional administrator, I think it is very important that we work through our SBA district office, our VBOC, our PTAC, to make sure that we are first certified in order to do the work, right? We have to go to the steps to make sure that our communities, a lot of folks say that our communities are underrepresented. I don't say underrepresented, because I know that there are many people in Black and brown communities all across the country that have provided stellar representation and leadership. Ms. Paul, Ms. Jane Colbert, I heard Mr. John mention you, and he's told me about you before. So I know that even in New Mexico that there have been champions in communities that some folks say are underrepresented. I say that our communities are way too often underestimated. And without access to the information, we can't get the benefit of the resources to get to the part where we are not just talking about the $1 trillion investment, but being able to talk about being able to recognize Black and brown businesses, Black and brown entrepreneurs who are taking advantage of the procurement opportunities that the federal government have to offer. So it's not, for me, it does me no justice to talk about $1 trillion investment if I can't point to many small businesses that have opportunities to do work with the federal government. And again, these things don't just happen overnight. So to make good on the promise that the president, he signed an executive order early in his administration to increase the contracting opportunities to small businesses. We've exceeded the initial goals, right? Last fiscal year, $8 billion, right? $8 billion. There was an $8 billion increase in procurement opportunities to small businesses. That didn't happen without organizations like the SBA, PTAC, the MBDA, ensuring that organizations, small businesses, know about the opportunities and are certified to do work with the federal government. So someone asked me earlier, what are you working on? For me, out of all of the things that we have at the SBA, that is the singular most important thing, to make sure that I don't just show up in communities of color, show up in underestimated communities and talk about all these wonderful things and then leave. Because I know, and this is Black History Month, historically, these opportunities have been locked out for us, right? And it's not a secret. It is not something that I am willing to ignore. Other folks can ignore it. Ted James is not going to ignore it, right? As the only African-American regional administrator in the SBA, we have a very diverse group of regional administrators. So my comments please don't mistake me for saying that our regional administrative team is not reflective of the entire country, because it is. But it's the fact that I'm the only African American. So I am duty bound, especially on this Black History Month. I recognize as a presidential appointee, as I look at one of your leaders in the pulpit here, all of us, myself included, enjoy the shade of a tree that I did not plant. Right? So when you enjoy the shade of a tree that you don't plant, you are duty bound to make sure that not just the tree is protected, but the shade that that tree provides is protected. So in order for us to protect that tree, we have to make sure that resources and opportunities are readily available in underestimated communities. Recognize, and a lot of things that, Black History Month, I see a beautiful image of Dr. King. I will challenge everyone in here to learn about somebody else other than Dr. King, right? Not that we have a lot more champions than Dr. King, right? And I talked to the young lady with the commission, and I gave her a warning. This has absolutely nothing, and I do not mean any disrespect to the commission or to Dr. King. I am challenging you to learn more about Black history than just Dr. King. And I'm also going to ask the question, how do you celebrate him? Way too often I go to communities, and the only way that they celebrate Dr. King is to go do a neighborhood cleanup. And those are great things, but that only addresses a very small part of what he lived and died for. So if we aren't celebrating him by making some good trouble, if we aren't advocating for equity, if we aren't making sure that we are providing opportunities, breaking down barriers, erasing lines of division, then miss me with the cleaning up of the neighborhoods. Because that's only a small part of what Dr. King was about. And on this Black History Month, some people say, oh, it's the shortest month. And I love that it's the shortest month, because I want us to remember and reflect during this short month, and then spend the other 11 months actually doing the work to expound upon the legacy of not just Dr. King, but other giants in our community. My grandmother always says, and I'm going to wrap up because I know Shawnee is somewhere saying, I only gave you this small amount of time. But when I think about Dr. King, and I think about Medgar Evers, I think about Thurgood Marshall, I think about Ben Crump. See, I'm listening to people that are living and have died, right? There's one thing, we celebrate the life of Dr. King. We celebrate that Dr. King lived this life, and he was this giant of a figure. But in his last speech, he said, it doesn't matter with me now, right? Before he talked about the mountaintop, all of us know about that part, right? But before he saw the mountaintop, he talked about the fact that he knew that his days were numbered, right? He said, but it doesn't matter with me now. And he said, I may not get there with you. And honestly, we have not gotten there. We've come a long way, but we have so much room to go. And we talked about allies, and we talked about, yes, this is Black History Month, but when I look at the civil rights movement, when I look at the litigation, the marches, it weren't just black people, right? So this is a month for us to celebrate, but I recognize that we have had allies and champions at every single moment of the civil rights movement, now with the movement regarding policing, all these different things, equity in contracting, equity in access to capital. This is a collective effort, and it has always been a collective effort. And I tell people this all the time. There is nothing wrong with having some type of bias or your pride leads you somewhere, right? Family Feud is my favorite game show. And I always cheer for the black family, right? That's just me, right? But I don't say the black family should get extra credit, right? They should get more time, right? I don't say those different things. So it's okay for you to have a pride and a preference. It's not okay for your pride and preference to lead you to want to see another organization, another group, another race not excel. So it's okay to have your preferences. Right now is the Super Bowl. The Saints not in the Super Bowl. So those of us in the black community, we ask a series of questions. Is the coach black? Is the quarterback black? So now we got two black quarterbacks. So I don't know who I'm cheering for in the Super Bowl, right? But that does not make me a bad person. I am a bad person if I say the only teams that should get to the Super Bowl are those with black quarterbacks or black coaches. So there's a difference, right? And it starts with us recognizing that we all have some biases. But what do we do to actually celebrate? Do we just talk about, oh, yeah, Black History Month, we have all these different accomplishments, let's celebrate those? Or do we say, I am going to arm myself with something to continue the legacy of a Dr. King, of a Thurgood Marshall, of a Booker T. Washington? That's how you really celebrate. Because some people want to talk about all the things that were taken. I want to talk about all the things that we are taking back, right? All of the buildings, all of the things that were burned down. But I like that I represent an agency that are providing 504 loans and opportunities for folks in the community to build those buildings back, right? Folks want to erase history, and that is fine. Every state, there's legislation being filed to erase history, and that is fine. Some folks are going to do that. It is very easy to try to erase history. It is hard to ignore what's happening right now. So let's let folks try to erase history, and we focus on the now. What are we building now? Because you cannot ignore what's happening today. So on this, your inaugural Black Business Summit, I didn't went off into a whole nother lane because I wasn't even going to talk about this today. But the fact that we went through all 3 verses of the Black National Anthem, I felt like I had to talk about a little bit of something, Pastor, right? So, because in most places you go, they just do the first verse and sit down. Right? And then folks start looking, pulling up their phone, trying to pull up the words. And I appreciate y'all for putting the words on the screen too. But in all seriousness, New Mexico, Albuquerque, we have folks that this brother in the front came all the way from Cali to be here today. So rest assured that what you are doing, this conference, this information, it is needed, it is valuable, but shame on us if we do this and don't continue. Shame on us if I don't come back next year and somebody says, Mr. James, I got one of those contracts to do some work with the federal government, right? Shame on us if somebody doesn't come and say, hey, that business idea that I had last May, it was funded by one of your SBA lenders. Shame on us if we don't continue to build in recognition of history. And like Mr. Tim Green said, community is the only way that we can do it. We're never going to be able to do it divided. That's why I like all these different organizations that are here around, and share your information with everyone, because collectively we can build communities that our children, my daughter and Tim's daughter, can be proud of. Thank you all, and happy Black History Month. Thank you, brother.
Sorry, that's my bad for being at the back of the room. Thank you, Regional Administrator, for sharing those words. Thank you, Janae, for giving us an overview of the SBA Office of Advocacy. We're going to move into our panel, and I'm going to bring up Charlisha Strain with the Office of African American Affairs, who is the Communications and Marketing Coordinator for that office. She's been super great and helpful. She helped put together the feature for me in the Deep Bench. If you haven't seen the newsletter for OAAA, I got a cool little feature in there thanks to Charlisha and her team. But I'm going to welcome her to the stage, and we're going to bring up our panelists for our business panel. I know that we are running a little bit interesting on time, so lunch will probably move to about 12:15, 12:30. And I'm going to welcome her up to the stage, and we're going to get started with our local Black-owned business panel. Please welcome Charlisha.
Okay. Hi, everyone. How are you doing out there? Good, good. It's good to see everyone's faces, so thank you for coming out for day 2 of the summit. So bear with me as I just take a look here. All right. So I'm going to call first Dr. Ndidi Amake Arakpe of Olive Tree Compounding Pharmacy. And I'm so sorry, Dr. Ndidi Amake Arakpe. Round of applause. Okay, and we're going to call the second panelist to the stage, Krishner Peoples of Marathon Janitorial. Round of applause. And Sean Peoples as well. Mike Silva of Rude Boy Cookies. Let's welcome him to the stage. And Darlie Barkley of Utopia Dental Care. Welcome to the stage. Thank you. All right. Can we get one more round of applause for everyone to the stage? All righty. And so we'll wait for everyone to get settled. Thank you, Miss Nicole Rogers. Can we get a round of applause for Miss Rogers? Thank you for helping with the mics. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Do you guys want to reintroduce your names? I'm so sorry, I did butcher a few, and I do apologize about that. It was most the insecure portion of this. Would you like to reintroduce your name and then just go down the line, and then we'll go ahead and begin with the questions.
Good evening, good afternoon, everybody. I am Dolly G. Barkley. I am the founder of Utopia Dental Care.
Hi, my name is Mike Silva. I'm the co-owner of Tour ABQ and owner of Rude Boy Cookies.
Hello, my name is Dr. Ndidiamaka Opareke. I am the president and owner of Olive Tree Compounding Pharmacy.
Oh, sorry. Hi, my name is Krishner Peoples of Marathon Janitorial.
Hi, I'm LaShawn Peoples, co-owner of Marathon Janitorial.
Excellent, thank you. Can we get one more round of applause for everyone here? All right, so we're gonna go ahead and begin. The first question is, tell us a little bit more about your business and what was the thing that got you started with your business. We'll start from the left. Oh, no problem. So the question was, tell us of you starting your business and what's your favorite part of your industry or your work?
Okay, so we started our business right at the cusp of COVID. We started as a franchise with JamPro, and they closed their doors. What prompted us to start our business is I got let go of a job in medical because I needed a surgery and I couldn't provide them with the date for a surgery, so they let me go. And then my husband said, we're gonna start a business out of the trunk of the car. So that's what we did. And he was a line cook at Nexus. So then we just went from there.
Excellent. So it was birthed out of a need that you guys need.
Yes, I just wanted to be self-sufficient and self-employed.
Excellent.
Yeah. Control my own destiny.
Excellent. So is that the favorite part of your business, to be able to control your own destiny?
Yeah, I love the flexibility, being my own boss.
Excellent. Thank you. Doctor?
So I actually attended the University of New Mexico College of Pharmacy from 2004 to 2008. So I practiced as a pharmacist in the state of New Mexico and also in the state of South Carolina. When I came back to New Mexico in 2015, I worked for Loveless Hospital and also for Walmart Pharmacy. And I just realized how terrible that was. So I decided to start my own business. So in 2016, I received funding, a 7A loan through a US bank through an SBA program. And I built my own pharmacy in Rio Rancho. And what I do is I make medication for men, women, children, and animals. So I customize medication. If you go to a pharmacy and what you need is not obtainable from a retail pharmacy, that's when you come to me, and I customize the medication according to your needs.
Excellent. Once again, came from a need. You saw something that was not working and went ahead with it. So thank you for that. And is that your favorite part?
Yeah, so my favorite part is making money.
A round of applause for money. We do need money.
But, you know, another thing is if you look at the statistics, right, and if you walk into a pharmacy, you have a 7% chance of meeting a pharmacist that looks like me. Only 7%. So that's become my favorite number, 7, right? It's also a heavenly and a divine number. But aside from that, that means that you have a 7% chance of being heard, being understood, and getting the pharmaceutical care that you deserve. And so that is the niche that I fulfill. And that's why I have stepped into that purpose.
Excellent. Well, thank you for showing up and showing out. All right. All right, round of applause.
Hey, so my name is Mike Silva. I am the owner of Rude Boy Cookies. Rude Boy Cookies was born in 2014. Rude Boy Cookies is my second business. Yesterday I was at a launch for my third business, and yet the struggle is mighty. But nevertheless, we persist. I started Rude Boy Cookies because nobody was doing cookies in Albuquerque that I saw. And as a musician, ever since I was 4 years old, as a fan of reggae music and a lover of ska music, those fans are called Rude Boys. So my business is called Rude Boy Cookies out of a love for chocolate chip cookies and reggae music, basically. So I was able to combine two loves, cookies and music. My favorite part about being an entrepreneur is that I get to carve out time to do things like this. So when I used to work for corporate America in this building, actually, for 5.5 years as the director of food and beverage operations, I would have been the guy setting up this room, making sure all the food was brought up and all that stuff. I did that in this building, actually, for about 5.5 years. I was at a job that terminated me. I didn't feel it was fair or appropriate. It was embarrassing the way they treated me, quite frankly. And so 2009, started my first company with my buddy Jesse Heron, and I told you about Rude Boy. But yeah, I like that I can create time to do these type of events with the community.
Thank you for that.
Well, for me, I started since I was in school. What do I mean by that? I always had an idea of starting my own business. How? I didn't have an idea how it was going to happen, but I knew it was going to happen. And what carried me on was a friend of mine, a classmate, when I was telling her, I said, I'm going to start my own business. And she's like, I could see that. And I looked at her, I was like, what? And that's when I actually started believing it. So sometimes you have to actually say it before it happened. And I really started the idea of coming to New Mexico. I had a family member that lived here, and because they had a collaborative aspect, so I could collaborate with a dentist. As long as you collaborate with a dentist, then you could have your own business. So that's how I started. And since 2000, I had the idea, but I actually launched in 2011. 2018, I started doing what I always love to do, meet people where they are. That's when I met with Blue Cross Blue Shield. And then they helped me as partner where I go where people are. What does that mean? It means you are in the park. I could be there with the van, with the caravan. Also, churches. I've been to churches. I'm going to the school next week. And also the community centers, state fairs, and what have you. And my favorite is Sunday Fun Day, which is Rio Rancho.
Excellent. Let's give a round of applause. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next question, okay? All right, so what is the biggest reward of being a Black business owner in New Mexico?
My biggest rewards of being a Black owner is the fact that I get to serve the people. I really love what I do. I could tell you last year, I started to do not my first church, but my first Catholic church. And that was the largest people that I saw. We had a long line and what have you. When one of the patient was leaving, he stopped. He looked back at me, and he said, "You're doing a good work." That was priceless.
Excellent, thank you.
What was the question again?
So what's your biggest reward of being a Black business owner in New Mexico?
Again, for me, it's the time that being an entrepreneur provides. So about a month ago, I was a speaker at Jefferson Middle School. They have a Black men's group for their Black students called the Brotherhood. And I was able to go and speak to about 15 Black boys, 6th through 8th grade, just about life, entrepreneurship, values, ethics. And I couldn't do that if I was working for somebody else 9 to 5. So that's the most powerful thing for me. That's where I get the most joy. A couple nights ago, I was at an event celebrating the opening of a Black-owned bank that's coming to Albuquerque. So I was able to be in that space with my brothers there that are doing that. So being Black and being in business in Albuquerque, I think there's a lot of, I heard Ted say it earlier. Is that his name, Ted? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's about duty bound, right? So I think being Black business owner in Albuquerque, I feel duty bound to serve others, try to open the door for somebody else, to try to make sure that when I leave a room as a board member, for example, there's 2 or 3 other people coming in after I've left.
Yes, ma'am. I can do. So what's your favorite part about being a Black business owner in New Mexico?
I think my favorite part about maybe just being a Black business owner in general is when I think of my legacy, when I think of my grandmother, you know? I think you gave a shout out to first generation African Americans, right? So I'm from Nigeria, and my parents came here after the war. And my father became an engineer, my mother became a nurse. My mom's mom was an icon. And she started off in Nigeria, she started off by, have you guys seen those African women that tie babies on their back? Mm-hmm. She started off by tying one of my aunties on her back with this, rapa, and holding another one with a tray of puff puff. Do you guys know what puff puff is? Mm-hmm. It's like a donut. A tray of puff puff on her head. And she would hawk in the streets of Aba, selling puff puff. That's how she started her life. By the time she ended her life, she had a huge hotel where presidents, governors, ministers used to come to stay. Emilia Agrifin is my grandmother's name.
Yes.
So just knowing that that's what my grandmother left for me. So it's not the same industry, right? But for me to rise up from nothing, out of ashes, nothing, and build a pharmacy and serve the community and take care of my children, that's the best thing about being a business owner in New Mexico.
All right, I'll go ahead and repeat the question. So what is the best thing or the best reward about being a Black business owner in New Mexico?
I guess I'll piggyback a little bit off of that. The best thing for me is being a Black man owning my own business in Albuquerque, New Mexico, because there's only 10 of us in Albuquerque. I'm just saying. So, we've got to try to build something for ourselves. So I like that we have a panel, of janitorial, dental, pharmacy, cookies. And then yesterday we had a good panel too. So we have a variety of different businesses out here. So it enjoys me to be amongst my peers and be in the business 505 or out in the Albuquerque public, and they recognize me as Marathon Janitorial. And they don't even call my name. They call me Marathon or Janitorial or something, but that's fine. So that's me.
Nipsey.
Yeah, I'm a walking billboard, I guess. So I like that. I enjoy it.
Go ahead and hold that. I'm going to start with you guys for the next one. You want to speak as well? No? All right, round of applause at the end of that round. Thank you, everybody. All right, and especially because you guys recently started your business, can you briefly share what it was like to do your first contract and how did you feel about that? What was that process of doing your first contract?
Getting our first contract was very exciting. Like I said, we started as a franchise. When we started as a franchise, COVID just hit. They didn't even know it was COVID yet. So we got our first contract in April of 2020. JamPro closed its doors July of 2020. So we were scrambling to figure out what we were gonna do. But we got our first contract through the franchise. The day after JamPro closed their doors, our first contract called us and said, we want to keep you guys because we like you, you're professional. And we still hold that contract to this day. So it's very exciting. We've gone through plenty of other contracts. We still have contracts. We do clean Shawnee's building, the EDD building, thanks to Shawnee, she got us that. So it's just exciting. I mean, to go through Albuquerque, New Mexico as a Black-owned janitorial business is very rewarding because we go in there and people think, sometimes they think, oh, they're just the cleaners. I need to call the boss. And one time somebody said, I'm gonna call your boss and let them know this and that. And I said, well, I'm right here, you can talk to me. So, I mean, there's that. I don't know what else you want me to do.
No, I love your answer. I do. Let's give a round of applause for the answer. Doctor?
So I actually don't work on contracts at Olive Tree Compounding Pharmacy. If you bring your prescription to me, it's cash basis. I don't have any insurance contracts. And so welcoming my first customer, I remember it was a Saturday, and I was just like, why am I here on Saturday? It's my business. I don't have to work on the weekend. But my first customer came to me on Saturday. And quite frankly, when I received that first prescription, I had no clue what to do. I did not know how to make the medication. I did not know where to start. But what I did have was resources. So I had my knowledge as a pharmacist, and then I also had databases that I could tap into to figure out how to make the medication. And it was like that for a long time, you know, trying to figure out how to make the medication. But with all confidence, I would tell every customer, okay, I'll have it ready tomorrow. With all confidence and thinking in my mind, how am I going to fulfill this promise or this vow to the customer? But in 2023, I'm still here and I've done thousands of prescriptions. I have licenses not only in the state of New Mexico, but also in Texas, Indiana. I'm serving customers in those states as well. So.
Excellent, thank you.
So I'm in the retail business with the cookie shop, so I don't really do contracts necessarily. But as that question was asked and I was thinking of my answer, I did think of something. So in 2020, COVID hit us, March of 2020. I had just opened in my third location the first week of March, and then the second week of March we were shut down. So that was tough. That's not unique to me. That probably happened to a lot of folks in this room, sounds like, over here at the end of the platform as well. But I fought and I you know, did everything I could to keep the business going in 2020. And we had secured a few years earlier a small piece of business at the University of New Mexico Hospital cafes. So you've ever been to UNM hospitals? They've got 2 coffee shops in there. And I'm going to try to make this quick, but I feel like it's relevant. I used to work at a local restaurant. I was a manager. I had an employee there who was a fantastic employee. She ended up doing one of the unforgivables at any job, and so we had to let her go. And I was the manager at the time, so I had to call her in. I had to terminate her. I explained to her that she made a bad choice, but it doesn't define her, and that she shouldn't let this stop her from fulfilling whatever dream she has for her life. Fast forward to about 10 years later, I'm now owning and operating Rude Boy Cookies, and this young lady is now the manager at the coffee shops at UNM Hospital. And so around 2017 or 18, she calls me out of the blue. I hadn't talked to her in about 10 years. And basically, I got the business at UNM Hospitals because of this employee that I had, because I treated her with a little bit of respect and kindness in a tough moment for her. Fast forward to 2020, we're struggling. The world is on fire. Everybody's trying to keep their businesses going and stay alive. And the biggest piece of business I've ever had in the history of my company, which allowed me to do things in 2021 that I was hoping I could do, was a 9,000 dozen cookie order from the University of New Mexico hospitals, which in business, we look for that whale customer. That was my whale. Now I'm looking for the next whale. But that whale allowed me to continue through 2021, move into my new building, set myself up to be able to do some things that I'm doing currently that would not have happened had I not treated an employee in 2006 with just a tad of grace and kindness when I had to terminate her.
Yes. Let's give a round of applause for that. That really does go a long way, treating people with kindness.
Well, with me, I do not have a contract as of right now, but I'm looking for one. But I could talk to you about my grants that I received, how I felt when I got my first grant. It was from OAAA. It was $300, and it meant a lot to me. I was so excited because I think I've written some proposals before and I didn't get it, and this time I got it, and it was like exciting. Then my second grant that I received was from my ADHA, which is Dental Hygiene Association, and that was a $5,000 grant. However, let me tell you how I got this. I wrote the grant, and I had written one before, and I didn't think it was the right one. Second one that I wrote, I got some help with the budget from the chamber with Donna, which was great. And then once I received the notice and said, I'm sorry, we trust what you're doing, we believe in what you're doing, and I think you're doing a great work, but we had so much proposals or what have you, they said they didn't have the funds available. Oh, I was so mad. I was like, excuse me? I did not get this. So I had an inkling with the Lord. The Lord had told me to pursue what I was doing. So then I challenged him. I said, wait a minute. Was it you that I spoke to? Did I hear you? Or was it another? Then I realized, wait a minute. Who am I speaking to? I was speaking to the Lord. So if I didn't get it, that means I was not ready to receive it yet. For whatever reason, when I came down, I said, you know what, Lord, I trust you. I trust that I'm going to receive it once it's the right time. Guess what? 2 weeks later, I saw a note stating that, and from the email said, congratulations. Congratulations. So I opened it up. We have received funds, and you are awarded $5,000. That was exciting. So I thank the chamber, I thank the Lord, and everyone else that helped me to be able to put this together.
Excellent. And I want to say I'm glad that OAAA was the one to give you your first contract. Exactly. OAAA? All right, thank you. All right, we're going to keep going. I'm sorry. Is there any, we're going to open it up for questions from the audience right now, okay?
Sorry. Do we have any questions from the audience that y'all would like to ask? Fantastic. And while I make my way over here and I take like my time, I wanted to say that our businesses up on the stage, all 4 of these local businesses will be featured in Albuquerque Business First magazine coming out on February 17th. Carla with the Chamber did some incredible work to make sure that our local Black-owned businesses were going to be highlighted. So when that, what do you call a magazine? When that issue comes out, make sure that you all go purchase a copy. She secured about 24 different local Black-owned businesses who provided their information in, and we're going to have them featured in Albuquerque Business First. So thank you so much to y'all businesses.
Thank you for giving me the chance to ask this wonderful panel of Black owners in Albuquerque. a question. So what I would like to ask is, how did you go around hiring employees or contractors to fulfill other, parts or departments of your business?
Right now, we use LinkedIn, Indeed. What's that other one called? Yeah, Craigslist. Just all the social media platforms out there. And the way we go about getting our business is networking events. I think that works the best. Like the 505, we're in the Hispano, and then we go to other little networking events, and then Google. We got a real strong presence on Google. We're a 5-star on Google, by the way, A+ rating with the BBB. So, that Google makes us competitive, so that's how we do it.
I think what's important for me when it comes to hiring is giving an opportunity. And so I really look for marginalized men and women who wouldn't have the opportunity if I didn't have the position that I have in the community. So if you come to me, let's say you apply for a position and you express that you're a first-generation college graduate, no one in your family went to school, and you want to become a pharmacist, I would probably give you an opportunity to do that. And so I've strengthened my ties with the College of Pharmacy by forming an endowment fund, a $25,000 endowment fund. And this gives international students an opportunity to participate in an exchange program. So that's the way that I seek out employees.
For the cookie shop, I'm hiring a lot of college-age kids, and I also have a handful of kind of folks in their late 20s, early 30s who just like to bake. So for me, we do a 2-step process. We post on all the sites that you've heard about. We do all the social media, but our interview process is twofold. So my business partner, she kind of operates everything within the 4 walls of the business. So she's in charge of the product, the cookies, the recipes. So she does the first interview. She establishes whether or not the person is worthy of, if she thinks the person has the skills to assist us in the functions of the job. And then all second interviews are done with me. And then I sit with the person to have a character assessment, to talk values, to talk about what our business truly is about. Rude Boy Cookies, we sell cookies. But I think most people know us because of our community equity, and we're incredibly philanthropic. We're a safe space. For anyone that wants to walk through the door, everybody's welcome at Rude Boy. And so I kind of say our employees look like a 15-piece ska band. We got black folks, we got white folks, we got men, we got women. You name it, they work for us. We got punk rock, we got reggae, soul, everything in our spot. And so we really try to drill down on character, values, shared kind of views of the world, because somebody who, quite frankly, doesn't share the values that I have probably wouldn't be a great fit in my business, and that's okay. So we can disagree to separate at that point, but I try to hire folks that share the same values that we do at the business.
Well, for me, I have trained one of my patients to become an assistant, and last year she moved, and I'm also training another one right now. She is going through struggles because the language barrier or what have you, but at the same time I'm working with her. I'm going to have her go to more training where that way she could be ready to do more. And I also hire my kids. My son, who has great leadership, so he's been with me when I go to my fields, where I go to the schools, and he does all the operational work and set up, and also do the screenings and what have you. So I'm open to other people who might want to work with us, and I do a lot of networking.
My name is John David Terry. I'm the second. I usually tell people I'm royalty. Refer to me as Your Excellency. I want to know from each of you to what extent you use legal services assisting you in your business operations, as well as protecting your personal and financial affairs.
I'll go. So I'm involved in several businesses, and all of them have legal representation. About to speak to Rude Boy, my best friend from 9th grade. We met in the marching band at Del Norte High School, me playing the saxophone, him playing the trumpet. Best man at my wedding. I was the best man at his wedding. Fast forward to real time, he's a lawyer. He's my lawyer. So he takes care of all my legal needs. I'm going through an actual ownership, managing share situation at the moment. I'm the majority owner of the business, but my business partner is in need, and so I'm going to buy some of her shares so I'm going to own more of the business and give her some assets that she could use right now. So that's a legal situation I'm dealing with currently, but yeah, I have good representation there. I think it's very, very smart to make sure you do those things up front. I will say a cautionary tale. When I started the tourism business in 2009, my partner, business partner, MBA graduate from UNM. I'm a graduate from UNM. We thought we were smart guys. We didn't want to spend the extra money on legal and CPAs and bookkeepers. We could just do it ourselves. And I will tell you that 2 years later, we had to hire a bookkeeper to clean up our mess, and it cost us way more money than it was worth. So I always, always say, spend the 50 to 150 bucks out of the gate to hire a bookkeeper, get that legal help that you need, because it'll just help you to run your business instead of cleaning up your business.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think one thing that has hit our Black and brown communities the hardest is we haven't mastered how to pass down our wealth through generations. And so every generation has to start over. You know, so I necessarily didn't want to do that. So I made sure that I have a lawyer. You know, I've set up a revocable living trust, life insurance policies, and so on and so forth. But I think that's probably the most important thing as a business owner is it's great to make money and do well in business, but then how do you secure the asset? That's what we need to tackle in our communities.
We haven't ran into any legal situations, thank God, but we have Legal Shield, and we use QuickBooks, and we also have a bookkeeper CPA. We got that right away. Soon as we got out of the franchise, we got Legal Shield and a CPA, so they can keep up with the books, because, you know, at first, QuickBooks is kind of challenging when you first start off with it if you haven't been using it. So we had to get somebody to use it first and then catch on after the fact.
I'm going to do a quick shout out to Rocket Lawyers, a super affordable resource for small business owners. I think I pay like $199 a month to kind of draw up some of my own personal contracts, but it's another option. I've got another question here from Mr. Ralph Mims.
My name is Ralph Mims. I'm the Economic Development Consultant for Rio Communities, Spectacular Views, Endless Opportunities. Also, I was the Economic Development Manager for the Village of Los Lunas, involved with Facebook, Amazon, other projects that we brought into the state. What was that, sir? Making it rain, brother. Come on now. So I have a question for Ms. Barkley here. What made you become a dental hygienist? And what type of education background you need to become a dental hygienist? I threw you a softball there. Come on.
As dental hygienist, you need to have, it's the same thing like an RN. So you could be a 2-year for your associates, or you could have a bachelor. So I had my associates in 1992, and I got my bachelor in 2014. Yeah, I think you had another question. What was the question? The very first one?
Oh, I took the microphone so far away from him, he might not be able to ask it.
I think he said what made me, I forgot to answer that. When I went to dental assistant school, I was told by my instructor, if you don't like to see blood, don't even think about hygiene. So I said, oh, great. Now I know what not to do. So it's just so funny how I was working in this facility where they have about 7 specialists. And one of the specialists I worked with was the periodontist. How exciting. That's all he does is blood, because he does surgery. But so when he does the incision, guess who has to suck everything? Me. Guess what? That made me realize, never say you don't want to do anything because you think you might not like it. I loved it. That's when I realized I wanted to be a hygienist.
I got to, is he doing without the mic?
Here, I'm going to let this gentleman over here ask a question, and we'll come back to you, sir.
Yeah, I got a quick question. I know all of you guys decided I'm going to go into business for myself. So you started, you pounded the pavement. At what point did you say, man, I might not make it? And then you persevered and made it. How did that feel?
Well, I'll answer it because whatever you do, you have to make sure you have a passion, because you're going to have a lot of bumps in the road. So when the bumps comes in, the passion is going to take over. So that's what I say. Always have a passion. Don't just do things just because you see somebody do it. You're going to, most likely it's not going to happen. You have to have a passion. Yeah.
I'll say this. So I've been an entrepreneur for 14 years. Tourism business in 09, cookie shop in 14, partner in a new business that just launched yesterday, small investor in a couple of other little things. And yesterday I had a conversation with my wife about, I don't know if this is going to work. But I'm motivated and I'm driven by the alternative, which is not an option for me. So my mother was born along the Arkansas-Mississippi border. When she was 4 years old, the Klan, so my mother's the same age as a lot of folks in this room, so this isn't that long ago. My mother, 4 years old, 16 siblings, they got a heads up from somebody that the Klan was on the way to take them out because of her brother doing something. We all know the drill, right? So they fled. They fled Arkansas, Mississippi. They ended up in California. That's where my mother started her life. When I was 8 years old, my mother fled California because my dad wasn't a great guy, unfortunately. And we ended up in Albuquerque because my mom was looking to get away. Her options were Albuquerque or south side of Chicago, where she had family, Albuquerque where she didn't really know anybody, but she decided Albuquerque would probably be better for us. So that's how we ended up in the Kurt in Albuquerque in 1976. So I just say that to say, that's why I persevere. That's why I push on. In her honor, because of them, because of her. That's my sole motivation right there. I refuse to give up. I refuse to not wake up every day and put my feet down, 10 toes in, and just do my best on that particular day. What y'all may perceive as success in business because of what you see on social media is not success in business. There's a lot of sleepless nights. There's a lot of phone calls to local resources. Hey, can you help me get some financial assistance? There's a lot of calls to people. 2022 was the worst year for me in business that I've ever had. On the verge of financial ruin. And it's in those moments where how you carry yourself and how you walk matters. Because I got help last year in 2022, but none of it came from a bank. Not one penny. I got help from people that I could lean on and that I could get back to when I was healthy, but they helped me in my time of need. So it's because of my mom primarily, that there's no other option for me. I'm not going to let her down.
Just to add to that, I think 2022 was probably my worst year as well. In 2021, I actually got funding from a big bank, a big institution, to construct my own commercial building in Rio Rancho. But unfortunately, the time that it took to get permits from the city of Rio Rancho, construction costs had increased, I think anywhere from $600,000 to $800,000. So I went back to the bank thinking, you know, for sure they're going to approve more funding, but they didn't. Not only did they not give me more money to construct the building, they started drafting payments from my account, payments on the multi-million-dollar loan. I never used the money. I didn't build anything, but they were taking money from my account. So this is when you call yourself meeting. Like, I don't know if any of you have ever had a meeting with yourself. You call yourself meeting. So I had to call a meeting with myself and say, yo, what is going on? With some explicits, you know? What is happening? You know, and that took me deep down into my soul, and I remember the stories that my dad would tell me about how he fought as a soldier in the Biafra War. This is a civil war that happened in Nigeria between 1967 and 1970. My dad was a soldier. He got shot twice in the head. The first time he got shot, he was in the bush, and he was in and out of consciousness. Right? And I relate that to my story of being in and out of consciousness when the bank is taking this money from me. Right? And he said when he resumed consciousness, he saw a little dog that led him out of the forest to get help. The second time he got shot, he decided, okay, he can't go back to the war. But just remembering how my father had to persevere through death, through the valley of dry bones, that made me know that this is not the end of Olive Tree. This is just the beginning, yeah? So I tapped into my resources. One of my resources is Sarah from the SBA. Sarah, is she here? So I told Sarah, I can't go to the Thrive meeting because I don't have money to pay a pharmacist to take my place. Sarah connected me with Shelly. Shelly connected me with Maxine. Maxine connected me with, you have to have relationships. Business is about relationships. Business is about partnerships. The money is good, but business is relationships. So I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to Lori Roach at Main Bank. Lori was able to work with Capital CDC and get me approval to build my building, and hopefully we'll be starting soon.
And thank you so much to Main Bank for being one of our sponsors for the Black Business Summit. Can you say, I got one more question here in the back. Can you say the school that you're representing?
Hello, I'm Madison, and I came here with my school, Siembra Leadership High School. And I have a question. So how did you guys identify and market yourself as an entrepreneur?
For us, it's just all about, like he said earlier, networking, getting your name out there. Like Dee Dee said, relationships. Use your resources out here. Put your name out there. I'm going through a class right now on marketing. If you put your logo out there, no matter what color your logo is, as long as people recognize your logo, they're going to recognize it with who you are and who your business is.
So how do I identify myself as an entrepreneur? Is that what the question was? So yeah, so Rude Boy Cookies, we promote, we're locally owned, we're Black owned, we're woman owned, We do that in all of our promotions, so we try to identify ourselves so that our customers and our community know that we're locals. We're from here. We're part of the fabric of the city. So that's why we do so much community stuff. Additionally, it helps to further establish us as entrepreneurs. We're not a corporate. We're not a franchise. Nothing wrong with that, but we're not that. So that's one of the ways that we try to identify ourselves and establish ourselves as an entrepreneurial enterprise and not a corporate enterprise.
Well, for me, I do a lot of network, is word of mouth. And I just realized this week I'm getting so many calls from refugees that I worked with for many years that had no idea. I am always going to them. It's like, why you need to do this? I do prevention. You don't want to go when you have a problem. So I'm always saying that to them. But this week, I realize I'm getting a lot of calls. So it's a lot of word of mouth network. And like I said, I am working with one of the refugees who's helping me as an assistant in the office. And she has a church that she goes to, and I know the pastor. Some of them are my patients already, but there's a lot of them who do not want to go to the dentist, and I really hate when they call when they're in pain. What does that make them? It's going to have a very bad experience all the time. You could come in and do a preventive care where I do the screening and cleaning or what have you, and then we'll let you know what you need. And I let them know, I understand that you're still in control. We could tell you what you need. You don't have to do it, but at least you know. And we could give you an idea of what it entails as opposed to, okay, this is there's like an early stage cavity, or you have mild gingivitis, or you have severe periodontal disease and eventually you're gonna lose your teeth. So then you still can make your decision. So basically what I do is word of mouth. And I also do collaboration with Dr. Edwards, what have you. A lot of people from the office knows me or what have you. But mostly is networking and going to events. And other people tell you, like I have referrals, and that's referral base. I have a good referral base. Thank you.
And I've got 2 more questions here.
Okay. Hi, I'm Cam. I'm also from the Siembra Leadership, and I wanted to know, as like a black teen who's lived here my whole life and has kind of seen and struggled with it, was it hard to find more like black employees and build community with your kinds of businesses, since it feels a little bit scarce here and it's more sort of white and Hispanic dominated?
So I just hired 3 people. 2 of them were black. I went in the office, I closed the door, and I did this. Because I actively seek to hire black people. And it's hard. I don't have as many black applicants that come into my shop. But I just hired a young freshman at University of New Mexico, and I hired a gal from Uganda also. So yeah, I seek to hire black people, but I don't get as many black applicants. My tourism business, I don't have any black employees. It's not for lack of effort. It's not for lack of want to. It's not for lack of, if you come in the door, I'm going to give you probably a little bit better opportunity because I want a company that looks like me. So yeah, I do try to hire black people as best and as often as I can. If you're looking for a job, come see me. I've spoken at Siembra Middle School probably 3 or 4 times, and every single time I leave there, I say, if any of you need a job, come talk to me. If any of you want to have coffee and talk about entrepreneurship, come talk to me. And my phone's never rang. So I extend that to you right now. If you're looking for a job, a year or 2 from now, you hit me up. They know how to find me back there, and we'll get you going.
For us, it's kind of hard to find. It was kind of hard to find young black gentlemen or women, but I put my son. We put our son. As we trained our son to be a head cleaning tech, so he started attracting younger people. So right now we have a young squad. They look like basketball players walking in your building, but they all black and they do a good job. So right now we're just all black owned, just all the way around. That's a good thing. I like that. So I think we'll probably leave him in the out front to like attract people because he's doing a good job with that. And he's got a little finesse about himself where he can delegate and they'll listen to him a little better and things are working out like pretty good. So I'm trying to attract people like from 18 to like 25 where they're not too set in their ways and they're easy to train. So it makes it easier for us to work with them and we can train them the right way, that we don't have any unsatisfied customers, you know, because if a woman walks in the restroom and there's no toilet paper and no paper towels, that can be a real problem. You know what I mean? So, so that's how we're handling that right now. So, and if anybody else needs a job that's over 18, that's reliable, you can go to www.marathonjanitorial.com and stroll down to the middle of the page, and we have a simple application.
I think, yeah, it's quite challenging to, you know, find African American employees. But I think as long as it remains our focus, you know, in order to empower our communities, and it's a thin line because as an employer, you know, you shouldn't discriminate, even though they do. So, yeah, I think it really just comes down to skills, and to what I look for is longevity. So if I give you an opportunity, how far will you take it?
Good afternoon. My name is Miko Gilliam. I run the Life is Art movement. I have a two-part question for you guys that pretty much go along with a lot of the questions that you all have fielded thus far. Are you guys involved in any community groups that are minority-based that have helped you? So you've done networking and those type of things. Can you pinpoint any one of you, like one minority group that you've been a part of that has helped you, helped your business, helped you in your entrepreneurship, and helped your connection? I'm going to start with just that one part question.
Yeah, so with us, we clean a charter school, and we got our first contract with that school through the African American Greater Chamber of Commerce. Sorry. We have worked with Alethea through PTech. Right now I'm working with Gabby at the Minority Business Center. We have worked with the SBA. I am a member of WEST, which Naima is our consultant. So, and we work with Shawnee, so I don't know. We're out there.
Yes, no, I appreciate your answer there. And my second part of that question, are y'all actively involved in events like Juneteenth or other landmark minority events and movements that you all are involved in that would encourage positive community growth and maybe your own ROI as far as your business is concerned? I understand that it's difficult to run your own business as an entrepreneur, so being a part of community events can be doubly hard. But are there events, you know, because many of us, I think, know about Juneteenth, are there any events outside of that that maybe you run or that you're a part of that actually help your ROI and also are helpful for the community?
Well, I have yet to set up a church event that pertains to only blacks. I have yet to do that. I'm working on it, though. I'm working on doing something for the refugee community, which I've worked with, but I have not gone to their church. And I've spoke to the pastor. He just cannot see it yet. But I'm getting to the point where I help him to understand how it works by the pictures where I've been elsewhere, what have you. This coming Sunday, I'm going to be at San Jose, which is going to be my 4th time serving. the event, which we call it as a Smile Day, Happy Smile Day. I'm going to the school, which is Las Lunas School. How did I get this? Was a good friend of mine, Ralph. He was the one that linked me with the principal, and the principal gave me a chance, and I've been going there since, 3 or 4 years now. So I do it, yes, I've been to the Juneteenth a few times, Juneteenth and other events that the community put together. So I'm out there. So, and also, I'm not going to leave that out, which is the collaboration with Blue Cross Blue Shield. They keep me busy too. I've been to the state fair with them, with the seniors on September's, usually it's like the second week of September. So I'm basically, and I've been to golf. Not golf, let's see, what is it called? I can't remember, but it's 2 hours away. What's this place called? Gallup, thank you, Gallup. I've been to Gallup. And I have to tell you the story with Gallup. A friend of mine invited me to go to Gallup, and I'm like, I don't know about that. It's 2 hours away. He's like, but I come here. I was like, yeah, you have a point. So as I was driving to Gallup, I was like, why am I going to Gallup? Why am I going? And I didn't even know why I was asking the question, but I was asking the question for a reason. And I kept driving like, okay, why am I going to Gallup? Why am I going to Gallup? Well, guess what? I went to Gallup to meet Thomas from Blue Cross Blue Shield. That's where it all happened, with my partnership with Blue Cross Blue Shield.
That was actually a very insightful question, because I've even asked myself that many times. I'm pretty sure that the majority of you have never been to my pharmacy. And it's not anyone's fault. It's just the way things are set up. Because in my place of business, the person, the customer, the client who has the money to pay for what I do doesn't necessarily look like us. And it's unfortunate because then you start thinking about the health disparities in the community. You start thinking about, why don't African American women know much about menopause? Why don't African American men know about andropause and how to take care of yourself through those phases of life? So it's unfortunate, and I'm willing to partner with anyone and work on a solution, because it's really about advocacy at this point.
Yeah, so I'm heavily invested in community, probably at the expense of my own financial gain, and I'm perfectly okay with that. I'm in this entrepreneurial game to create wealth for my family, to create some intergenerational wealth for my daughter and hers. I'm a girl dad also up here. But yeah, I'm extremely motivated by community events and opportunities. I mean, I'm here today. With my brother, Charles Ashley, we've created a not-for-profit called Burke Against Racism. Burke Against Racism recently was awarded a grant from the Kellogg Foundation. We immediately threw some money into a program to provide tech career opportunities for black and brown kids in underserved areas. I mean, you know, I'm so deep in the community stuff, I don't want to just talk too much about it because it sounds braggadocious, but that's not the point. I have found that the community stuff has been significant in the ROI for my business. It's definitely been huge for me.
Awesome. So I have one more question from Mr. Bishop Cooper, and then we'll break for lunch. I'm sorry. There's a lot of questions in the room, which I super appreciate. And the beauty about our lunchtime hour is that you'll have the chance to connect more with these business owners and with the resources around the room. There's folks that are offering legal services and have a background in that. So make sure that you take that time to connect. We've got one more question.
Hello. My question is addressed to what is it that you need from the community for your business? I live in Rio Rancho, pastor in Albuquerque. So I done came past Olive Tree like, 5 or 10 times. I didn't know. I have a pharmacist at the church. Dr. Iffy is at the church. So, but what can we do? I believe that most of you are very much invested in the community. And so I want to talk to the pastors, but I know everybody doesn't go to church, about how we can help our black businesses succeed. And then the other groups in here, how can we help these 5 businesses and other businesses to succeed and reach their goals? Thank you.
Everyone is.
Well, for me, I'm like I said, I'm looking for more churches that's predominantly black. That would be great. And what I noticed, the African American, some of them do not understand about prevention, and if they do, they don't follow up or what have you. They allow the insurance, like if they don't have insurance, they don't come, what have you. Just because you don't have insurance doesn't mean you shouldn't go. You should just go. Find out if they have a promotion. We have a promotion right now that's $95, including x-rays and exam, just to help people out with no insurance. Because the idea is, if you don't know what's going on, you will let things go really far, and then it becomes a root canal, then you can't even afford a root canal, then you have to take the tooth out. So you could prevent this. The early stages, like prevention is cure, is the best cure, right? So that's what I would love to be invited to a church to do a screening and eventually cleanings and other things. And then we could get a referral to go to do anything that you need by the dentist, what have you. So I'm open to that, and that's how you could help me.
Yeah, so I know everybody doesn't eat cookies. You know, it's some people are watching their figure, some people have other health-related issues, so I understand cookies aren't for everybody. But one of the reasons I moved into the space that I'm in now, 1916 Central Avenue Southeast, it's 3,000 square feet, which is far too large for a cookie shop. Cookie shops are, for the most part, 500 to 100 square feet, maybe 1,200. They're baking cookies, they're serving you the cookie, and you're leaving, right? Well, the landlord that I have was very eager to have a tenant that he could trust and would do right by him. So I was able to work out a pretty smoking deal for me. So I'm not really paying for 3,000 square feet, right? So the reason I wanted to be in that space was because I wanted to be a place of community. I wanted to be a place of breaking bread. I wanted to be a place where people could gather, right? I want people to come into the space and just hang out, have a meeting like this. I've had African American chamber events in my space. I just had an Hispano chamber event in my space. I welcome any and all of you to come and have events in my space. I don't charge anything for it. If you buy a cookie, that's great. But if I walk in and I see people communicating, talking, breaking it down, collaborating, that's why I'm in 3,000 square feet. So what you can do for me, just come hang out in the space.
I would say for us, not just us, all of us, right? We live in New Mexico. We are the minority, not the majority, right? So I would say spread the word. We're not the only black-owned janitorial service in Albuquerque, but we are one of them, right? So the majority are the Hispanics or the Caucasians, right? So I would say spread the word. We might not can clean your house, but if you move out, we can go clean it, right? If you're moving in, we can clean it. You might know someone who owns a business that's looking for somebody who needs to clean, right? So I would just say spread the word.
Thank you so much, and give a big round of applause for our panelists. Thank you so much to Krishner and LaShawn Peoples for Marathon Janitorial, Dr. Ndidi Amaka with Olive Tree Compounding Pharmacy, Mike Silva with Rude Boy Cookies, and Miss Darby with Utopia Dental Care. Thank you all so much. And you all you're released. All right, everyone, I know you smell that food, so I'm gonna go ahead and open it up to lunch. I know that you all ate really good yesterday, and then you all went home and took naps, so we lost you for the sessions, but the business support and guidance counseling session is gonna be up in about an hour or so, as well as business contracting. So please make sure that you get a little bit of bite to eat. Today we're serving y'all appetizers, so you don't go to bed and go home, okay? Okay? We've got wings, we've got vegetarian spring rolls, and then for the vegan option today, we do have salad. So please, if you are not vegan, go ahead and wait a little while before you touch that salad because it is for our vegan friends and family. I want to do another thank you to our fiscal sponsors, Maine Bank, New Mexico Partnership, the Economic Development Department, the South Valley Care Center, and the Minority Business Development Agency and City of Albuquerque. I might have missed one in there. Also, Bishop Cooper is going to open a business directory on his website, so he wants any of the local business owners that spoke today on the panel and those of you that are in the room to get in contact with him so that he can get you listed on that directory. And if you are a black business owner and you're not listed on the African American Greater Albuquerque Chamber of Commerce's business directory, go ahead and get listed there too. Get listed anywhere you can get listed so you can get exposure. And make sure that you pick up a copy of Albuquerque Business First magazine, February 17 issue that will feature a bunch of our local businesses. Thank you all so much. We've got maybe about an hour and a half. Lunch is served. Go to the bathroom, get a break, get a drink, talk to someone, talk to our partners, and we'll see you back here for business support and guidance session. Thank you.